Go ahead, Daniel.
Welcome to the Pharmacy Frontiers podcast. We're excited to come to you today with Bill Schmidtknecht to talk about his passion to make a difference for his family cause, justice for Cole and all others. Let me remind everyone that the Pharmacy Frontiers podcast is available for streaming on your favorite podcast streaming app, whether it be Apple, Podbean, Spotify, or YouTube. The Pharmacy Frontiers podcast is a podcast dedicated to the pharmacy profession, and the comments and opinions shared today are those of myself, our guests, and not official statements of the MPA, Mercy, nor Mitchell Family Pharmacy. So today we welcome Bill. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I will serve as your co-host today, and Tim Mitchell will be with us as well. But Bill, please just start us off first with tell us your family story and tell us what brought this passion to you and in your life cause now.
All right. Well, thank you, Daniel. Well, my name is Bill Schmidtknecht. My wife is Shannon. My son was Cole Schmidtknecht, and I have another son named Dane. So back in January of 2024, my son Cole went to a pharmacy to pick up his routine asthma medicine. And on that night at that pharmacy, he was told that his steroid medicine was no longer covered as it had been in the past. And the steroid medicine was needed for daily use to control his asthma. And well, long and short of it, while he's at the pharmacy counter, he was also informed it wasn't covered. And if he wanted it, it was $539.19. The cost last year was around $66 to put that in perspective. Now, that was on January 10th. On January 15th, I received a text message from my son Cole where he said he was having some breathing problems, like an asthma attack, and was just kind of just letting me know and whatnot. And I said, well, let me know whatever I can do for you. Let me know. I'm 4 hours away, but let me know. About 45 minutes later, I got a phone call from Cole. It was the last call I got from him, actually. And I could hear he was labored in his breathing like an asthma attack. And our family, unfortunately, is very, very familiar with asthma attacks. I have the same form of asthma as Cole. My wife has asthma. Cole was doomed by us for asthma. I mean, like, that's what it was. And he had been dealing with this since an infant. So he was very well versed like an asthmatic should be. When I got that call, however, I could tell he was in a little panicky. And I just said, Cole, you need to get to the hospital. I knew the hospital was closed. I said, you need to get to the hospital. If you can't control this at your house, call 911, do what you got to do, just get there. And all he wanted to know moreover was, like, what's my insurance? I said, don't worry about your insurance, just go. He said, well, the good news is my roommate's home, Mitchell's going to drive me. I said, well, give me an update or have Mitchell text me when you get to the hospital. Well, I never got the text message, I'm going to say that. And on the drive to the hospital, Cole went lifeless in the car. His pulse stopped. Once he got there, his roommate did his best to get him there. He was resuscitated and moved into the ICU. Me and my wife got a phone call around that time. We didn't know what was going on from the emergency room doctor or the ICU doctor, I should say. He informed us that Cole had suffered a asthma attack that turned into cardiac arrest. And when he arrived at the hospital, they had to resuscitate him, and they could barely do it because his throat was closed so much. And he felt it was best that we got up there that night.
Yeah. Wow. It's deep. Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah. So we loaded up the car, me and my wife and Cole's brother, and we made our venture up to Appleton, Wisconsin at the Appleton Medical Center. And that started our next 6 days, we'll just say, of ups and downs and decisions we've never wanted to make in our life, and seeing our firstborn child on life support. So that's where this mission started, right there, essentially. I mean, like, that's kind of, we didn't know what our mission was going to be, but that was it. After our time in the hospital, after family did get to come and everything, Cole was an organ donor, things like that. And we got through all the best that we could possibly find out of this situation after, like I said, ups and downs of days. And Cole finally passed away on January 21st at 2024 at 10:06 p.m. That's when I knew I had to do something. I was fortunate enough to have, I'll be honest, my head on his chest. I heard his last breath. And that put a drive in me that resonates today. And that's what we're going to get justice for Cole and everybody else. And I'm not going to stop.
So when this whole occurrence occurred, I can't imagine having to deal with this as a parent, and I feel for you, and I'm sorry this has happened. Did you know what the cause was? I mean, you knew he'd had some issues with the inhaler, but what can you, and if you can't get into all the details, let me know. But I mean, did you know immediately what had happened, or did you have to find this out later, or kind of tell me what happened there?
Yeah, that was the confusing thing. When we got up to the hospital, his roommate was still there, and we just, it's the whirlwind. And he had made a comment to my wife about Cole didn't have his Advair, and we were just like, what? And Mitch, his roommate, had mentioned that while at the pharmacy when he was trying to fill it back on the 10th, which we didn't even know about at that point either. Cole had showed Mitchell his phone and showed him like a $500 price on the phone. And that's all we knew at that point. And then it was just on to Cole. We learned about what happened. That was January 21st when he passed away. I think it was the end of February when we figured it out. And it was a fluke that we figured it out. We knew something was wrong. We just we didn't know, but we're planning celebrations of life.
Sure. Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, it's just overwhelming having to take all this information in and knowing how to process. I mean, you don't plan on having to do this in your life, for sure.
No one should have to do that with their child. That's amazing.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. It's nuts. But so what? I'll just give you a long story short here. So, like I said, I have asthma. I also was on the same insurance as Cole. Worked for the same place. To set the picture. Well, I use an independent pharmacy near my house with a really kind of cheesy mobile app, but it does work. And I set my prescription in via the mobile app to refill my Advair Discus also. Well, not thinking much of it, my wife ran in to get it with me when she was crafting or antiquing or something with one of her friends in town. And when she walked into that pharmacy that day, she saw a note on the counter when she was talking to our independent pharmacist that said, no longer covered. And from my wife's recollection and what she said at that point, the pharmacist and her looked at each other and go, holy shit, this is what happened to Cole. Now, the big difference here, this independent pharmacist told my wife, well, you can't leave. You're not going to walk out of here without anything. And long and short of it, my wife walked out with something to replace my Advair that would allow me to breathe.
Yeah. And, so typically what community pharmacists will do is they'll pick up the phone, they'll call the doctor, try to find something that's an alternative that your insurance would cover. And I assume that's probably what happened. So, and in Cole's case, it didn't occur, I guess. So, and that's very, very, very unfortunate. I mean,
it is very unfortunate. And that's why I have a passion for independent pharmacies, plain and simple. And all the stuff affecting them. And, long and short of it, after that, I'll just fast track Shannon. She got home, we were talking about it, and that's where our true mission started that day. And that's where justice for Cole and all others comes in, because I remember standing in my living room with her. I was going, holy crap, we just figured something out that's probably huge. And just giving each other a hug and going, this just can't happen again. We got to fix this. And here we are today.
And that's where you've really taken up the mantle, you and your wife, to put together this foundation, put together this mission going forward. You spoke in several different states advocating for PBM transparency, advocating for independent pharmacy practice. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. We've fortunately, there's a great group of people on this side of the mission for pharmacy benefit manager reform. And to be clear, we're talking like the top pharmacy benefit managers that are really inflicting what's going on. 80% of that business, it's 80% of the people that are out there are controlled by 3 entities. And it is insane. It is insane. So during our mission, we've worked with other national pharmacy organizations, and we've been to Washington advocating with Jake Auchinclaws and Buddy Carter and Diana Harshbarger, working directly with the FTC and the Department of Justice. Having private meetings. Helping push the pharmacists fight back last year was a big mission of ours. Buddy Carter's Medicaid, or Senator Wyman's lower transparency, all that stuff was just our mission. And along with fighting in Wisconsin, whatever we can do, which we have a long history of Wisconsin of failed meaningful PBM reform, which we're hoping to roundhouse in 2025 here, and it's looking very good. But I've been at national conferences. I was just at another state's legislative day the other day and met a bunch of young pharmacists in school and some very senior pharmacists who are so happy to have these young pharmacists still coming into this industry where your net profit contracts may not allow you to survive the best sometimes.
Yeah.
Because that under reimbursement. But, so we've taken that all the way from there to Washington, back to Wisconsin, state to state, and we've got a website we founded.
Well, Bill, what is the ask? What is it that the ask is? What is it that we want into that bill? What is that? What is the end result that you're asking?
So the basic ask for me is fair access to medication. Making sure that when a person comes up to the counter, that profits aren't looked at first, and a brand name medication is now replaced your normal one, and a generic alternative hasn't been excluded. And that's what happens, with the, as I've learned, when you have that placement material, I guess let's think about this. We're saying that the pharmacy benefit managers are controlling the pricing, and which is what caused coal what happened with coal.
Sure.
Well, do they actually set that price? I can't put my finger on it that they actually set it, but I can tell you what, they have strong influence over it 100%. Because if it is back to the pharma companies, they have to put all the research into developing a product. They also have to take in, how are we getting this to market? And if kickbacks or rebates are part of that equation, and the pharmacy benefit managers say, hey, if you want me to push your medicine, kick that rebate up, give me a kickback, and I'll put it first on my formulary. Now, that is profit over patients all day long.
Absolutely.
And so what do I want? I want that generic version of that medicine, if applicable, and what the doctor agrees with to be what the patient gets at the counter. Because what pisses me off more than anything, I visit a doctor, he just retired actually, I have a new one, but he was here for 20 years of my life. And I remember many times walking into a pharmacy and no fault of that pharmacy. And they go, you can't have this one, you got to try this one first.
Yeah.
Because of all that stuff behind the scenes. So
it happens all the time. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That step process is a money-making cash cow is what it is, I think, in many fashions of it, especially when the kickbacks are involved in the whole process. So there you go. Pharmacies need to be regulated. The top pharmacy benefit managers need to be regulated on the kickback side of things. They got to bring transparency to the game. They've got to stop their deceptive tactics, and the greed has got to stop. Simple.
I agree. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Bill. I picked up on two things you said. One was transparency and one was communication. And I don't think any of us are against the free market, right? We let the market work. That's what the American capitalism is all about. But that can't happen without transparency. And that's what you're saying is that PBM has to communicate to not only the pharmacy, but to the patient. This has been a change. Here's what our alternatives are. We can't be cutting off patients from care without that kind of communication. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and this kind of, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, access is definitely affected, and in you all's case, it changed your lives forever.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
non-medical switching with no notice will do that to you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
And and like back to like we were just talking about there, this whole PBM reform mission. I'm not the first one that's been on this mission myself, and I know a lot of the pharmacists out there across this country are doing what they can do to help and push this cause. And that gets back to my mission. I want to make it simple. I want to make it simple. As I'm doing stuff in Wisconsin, or what I'm doing, I have some fortunates that I have resources. I have a partnership with a larger pharmacy chain, if you want to say, that is struggling just like every little independent, losing stores every year. Well, I can't say that they're daily, but they lost 5 last year, 5 the before. But that was in that whole equation of the 24. I believe the average was between 5 and 8.5 pharmacies per day across the nation.
Right.
Closing, and that's chain, that's independent. I get that, but when the pharmacy desert occurs, it's usually because an independent just shut down.
Right. That's exactly right. You're exactly right. And usually, you can think back to the pandemic. Usually, those community pharmacies may be the only access to any kind of care or health information that community has. So, during COVID, there was a lot of physicians' offices that were shut down, seeing people virtually, but couldn't get to everybody. And we had people walking in or coming up to our drive-through because we had our lobbies closed a lot of times, or calling us and saying, "What can I do? How can I?" And we were leading them to whatever, or if we had care, we would bring it to them, So yeah, it is definitely concerning, and I appreciate your passion. So,
and I was just going to say, I want to add to that just a second. Sorry. Yeah. Look at our society nowadays in pharmacies. Okay, I'll be honest, and it's nothing negative. I've never ever thought of going to my pharmacy for medical advice. I've had a good provider, and that's where I get it from. He tells me what I need.
Sure.
But I do know you always hear on the commercials, "Hey, ask your pharmacist for any advice when you get your prescriptions."
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You're right. Back in the pandemic time, that kind of kicked up again, and I have a feeling, and my experience of people my age, and I'm not super old, but I'm not young, but either way, have kind of lost that. We're losing that. Let's go to our pharmacist and ask them a question, because we've had this realm of care that we've had access to. But that pandemic threw a twist on it. You're absolutely right. And I'm going to say this, and I've noticed this too, and I've also just talked with a pharmacist. People younger than me look at that pharmacy more as a doctor's option than I do, for crying out loud, because of the pandemic and the age they were at. And they went and got their flu shot, or they maybe went and got their COVID vaccination at the local independent pharmacy. So like, it's not that it's not important. It got super important again during a public pandemic, and y'all pushed through it. And I would have a feeling that it was business as usual from our top pharmacy benefit managers during a lot of that time. And our reimbursement issue is still the same thing that was probably before the pandemic, after the pandemic, and as it sits today.
Yeah, they actually got worse. They actually got worse. So
insane. It's insane. It really is. It really is.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So your work within the advocacy set area with speaking for different PBM reform bills. I know here in the state of Missouri, we have a couple bills moving through the House and the Senate that we're pushing hard on. I know that Oklahoma has a bill. Arkansas just passed a bill last year. You were just in Springfield, Illinois, advocating for their piece. You got Wisconsin. What's the take-home message that you give to those voting constituents, right? What's a message that a patient or a pharmacist can send to their elected rep? How do you want them to phrase that?
Well, the biggest thing is say something. I mean, like, don't even worry about what you got to say, because there's places out there, honestly, I'll give you a script of what to say. I'll give you the talking points, and a lot of the associations, the biggest thing the general public, the grassroots, needs to do is get involved and realize by getting involved, you are going to make a major impact on something that's hurting businesses in America, preventing people from proper medical care, and stopping people from dying. That's what you're going to do by helping. And your level of involvement is going to be so minimal, but your action is going to be so impactful. One phone call can help so much. One email can help so much. But get involved. Watch. Look to your local pharmacy associations. Look around for any advocacy groups. Pay attention to the news a little bit. I know it's tough, but look at your social media. It's all over your social media too. But get involved some way. Know that it's not going to take your whole life up doing it, but what you're going to get out of it is going to be so impactful, because we need voices to get this to happen. Is that David and Goliath type theory here? And that's a fact. That is a fact. Unless somebody out there's got an extra $500 billion they want to throw towards our cause. Yeah. But besides that, we're doing this ourselves, and that's what we need. So long and short of it, mypatientprotector.us, as I say, it's simple. I got links on there you can click. I know Missouri has a great website too, the Missouri Pharmacy Association. There's resources on those kind of sites out there for you to be educated on what the problem is, and what you can do. For example, go to patientprotector.us right now. There's a national legislative action page on there. Just click on that link and get in there, and you can see, send a letter to your senators, sign this petition. And what that simply does is you fill in some basic information. It'll generate a letter to your elected officials and tell them you want PBM reform. And that's what we need. We need that more and more over.
Absolutely. And now
tell me that website again, just a second, Tim. It's mypatientprotector.us. Is that right?
No, it's actually two words, like on my screen here. Patient Protector.
Very good. Very good.
Us. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Tim. Go with it.
Yeah. No. And do you want to? You're on just about every social media platform that I can see. I guess it's at Angry Dad. Is that what you're?
Yeah. So social media. This is our grassroots way to get out there. You can go into pretty much any platform, from YouTube to TikTok to Facebook, X, Instagram, but look for Angry Dad WI, because there's some other Angry Dads out there, so you need the Wisconsin on there, and so it's Angry WI.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. If you go to patientprotector.us, you'll find my social media links back this way. If you go to my social media on my link tree, and people on social media kind of know what that is, look at my profiles. It'll lead you back to there's an Angry Dad homepage. And it'll lead you back to Patient Protector, because the other really interesting thing we have brewing right now at Patient Protector is we have a docuseries being made, and it's called The Modern Medical Mafia. You can go to Patient Protector and get linked to their website, but if you want to just go, it's modernmedicalmafia.com. The first episode, we were going to release it back in January, 21st of January, actually, the 1-year anniversary of Cole's death. Some things happened. Some clarity came to us, and we made it better. We got the first episode about to come out in the next few days. You can follow it at Patient Protector. You can go to any of our Facebook or YouTube pages. Or the modernmedicalmafia.com. But here's a real fun part about this. If you want to know when the episode gets released, go to patientprotector.us. There's a big gold button on the homepage. You click that link, it'll get you on a list for us to say, hey, here's where the episode's at. It's on Amazon, it's over here, wherever. But you can sign up to get on a list to be on the wait list for the movie on patientprotector.us. Hit the gold button. You'll also send a letter to your elected officials in Washington saying that, hey, I also want PBM reform too. It's all automatic. But,
and I think it's important for people to watch your story and watch the Modern Medical Mafia docuseries that's going to be coming out, and share that with their elected officials, share that with their public, and let people know what kind of issues patients are having to deal with, pharmacies are having to deal with, and our whole healthcare system, and why it's so messed up right now. Bill, I appreciate you coming on. I know we don't have a whole lot of time on our podcast, but we're kind of winding things down here. Yeah. Just to kind of change it up a little bit. We every episode, at least that I'm on, I usually try to ask our guests if they'd like to share something about themselves that may not everybody may know about them. And just kind of make it interesting. So would you like to share something?
Yeah, there's a couple things. I'm going to give you one personal one real fast and one thing me and my wife love.
Yeah.
I love to cook.
Oh,
and
cool.
We're talking run a smoker, cook for people, and I got some of the best smoked chicken in America.
Okay, I'm looking forward to having some of that. Looking forward to having some of that smoked chicken. All right.
Yes. And then I would say the best thing me and Shannon and I really enjoy doing as something to find a stress relief. We like to play bingo.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Well, that's
cool. Someday we're going to go on a bingo road tour across the country.
Yeah. Well, we have some bingo places around in our area, in the Oklahoma area. We're close to Oklahoma, and a lot of people really enjoy that. I'm not really into a whole lot of that, but I know it's fun from what everybody's saying. So.
Bill, do you travel with your own bingo stamper? You got your own colored stamper for that?
Angry Dad stamper?
I don't have an Angry Dad one, but we do have some. And like I said, we do all bingo. It might be at a local tavern. It might be at a bingo hall. It's always fun. So,
there you go.
But, just the one real last thing here, though, as I talked about patientprotector.us, yeah, there's information to help. But this is something that's happening a lot. It's a complete educational site. And we try to put it at a third grade level. I'm really honest. That's what we try to do. If you want to learn anything about pharmacy benefit managers and what they're causing, and this is across the nation, go to patientprotector.us. There's all the information you need to know in a very easy, understandable format.
Okay. Daniel, you want to close us out?
Yes. Thank you, Bill, for joining us today. We very much appreciate hearing your family story, and we extend the best to you and your wife, Shannon, and your son, and appreciate you being here and sharing that with us. And we want to extend our thanks to our listeners that have joined us today. And we want to encourage our listeners to seek out the previous Pharmacy Frontiers podcast on their favorite podcast provider and share this episode with their friends. And until next time, remember, it's a good day to be in pharmacy.